morning. Today's January 16th and my name is Tasha and I'm here to bring you penguin pattern review. So let's get in. So like I said, I have been trying out lots of different penguin patterns and I want to compile them all together and give you guys some great ideas if you're looking into making a penguin pattern for either markets or fun or a gift. I have tried out 11 amazing patterns from super creative designers and I'm excited to show you guys what I found out and how they turned out. So the first pattern that I want to talk to you about is called Noo Chunky Penguin. And this pattern was written by Amegurema. And I believe this is like one of the most perfect little penguin patterns that you can make for markets or for gifts, or if you want to stock up your Etsy shop. It is probably a 20-minute make, and it is no-sew. There's there's like 2 different colors here and then some color changes in the front, but honestly, so minimal. I think it's only 3 rows of white in the front. I used 12mm safety eyes on this guy, and I also used Posh yarn, and I think it turned out really, really cute. I chose this light banana yellow color for his feet and a little brighter color for his beak, which is sewn on the front, and I think it turned out really adorable. It's really squishy. A lot of people will use this as a stress ball, like a basket of these at their markets, and they will call it stress balls. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. The pattern, despite how small it is, has excellent diagrams and super easy directions to follow. One of my favorite things that they did was that in the pattern, they changed the color of the text to match the color you're supposed to be working on, which makes it really easy to follow. The pattern that I have for you is part of a pattern pack called 14-in-1 Low-Sew Holiday Squish Balls. This pattern has 14 different variations that you can make, and that there are gingerbread men, Santa Clauses. I chose to just do the penguins since I was just doing like this penguin pattern review. But this pattern had excellent photos. It's very versatile. You can change out the hats, you can change out the body, you can make the hats attached or not attached. And there are lots of different parts that make it super easy for you to make lots of different creative things. This would be an excellent market make. When I first made this pattern, I decided to crochet the body into the hat, so you can see it is attached. That made it a little bit tricky because when you make the hat, you can see that this part of the color change right here should actually be shifted over a little bit, and it's hard to fix that after you get started because you are trying so hard to get all of these color changes in the right spot. It worked out okay. I used Posh yarn for this whole entire penguin using a 4.5mm hook. I'm going to show you one that I made where you make the hat separately, and I feel like it's a much cleaner design. I don't like that you can see right here where I attached the penguin. You have to kind of pull it down to get it to look right. I made the hat separately, and I used Premier Parfait yarn for this one. And it has a little bit of a softer texture than the Posh hat, but so similar. I liked that I was able to choose where I put, so you choose where you're gonna put these flaps. If you miscount the center flap, which is crocheted in after, it has to, like, you crochet it down and then you kind of flip it up and sew it flat. It's easier to do that when you are not going to put a penguin at the bottom, because then I made the penguin, and I like that I was able to now put the hat on the penguin and choose kind of where it's gonna go. I noticed the hat fit a little bit bigger when I did it this way, and I really liked the oversized look compared to this one. No-sew pattern, so these are bobble stitches, and then I just like embroidered this on the front. I used a 4.5mm hook, and it just has these little tiny wings on the side. It's by a maker called Crochet Calls. And like, look how cute he is with his little snow hat. And I think kids like taking the hats on and off and switching the hats out. So they could buy like 2 or 3 of these and switch the hats out, because there's like a Santa Claus hat, there's a gingerbread hat, and they can just kind of make it what they want. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. The pattern that I have for you is this adorable Christmas pattern. The pack is called the Christmas Penguin Pattern Pack. This is one of 3 different penguins that you can make. The other ones are just as adorable. There's even one with earmuffs, which I definitely want to go back and try that out. I really liked the finished product. of this penguin. I especially like the way the beak is embroidered on going up. It really gives it the look of an actual beak. But we gotta talk about the sweater. Like, how adorable is this sweater? Everyone I show this penguin to says, oh my gosh, he's wearing like a patterned sweater. So what I did for the sweater so that my yarn didn't get all tangled up is that every couple of spots I cut the white. And then just continued embroidering the green, and then I would reattach the white, and then I would tie a knot. And although I don't usually disconnect my yarn that way, I felt like for this pattern, it was so much easier because I was constantly pattern changing, but it's only for a couple of rows, and I feel like the finished product is so worth it. Actually, in the pattern, this little guy has a scarf that you single crochet, and then you tie it right here below his beak, and then you just tie a little knot here and let it hang down. But the way I put the wings on, I think I put them a little too high because when I put his scarf on, it covered up his face. If I were to make this pattern again, I would definitely bring the wings down maybe one row, and then I think the scarf would look perfect. But the cool thing is that this pattern has different attachments. So one of the penguins has a hat. So instead, I just made him a winter hat in like a contrasting jewel toned color. And I think it just turned out adorable. Everyone who sees him just thinks he's so cute. I love his size. He's super squishy and chunky, and I just think he's adorable. One of the things I really liked about this pattern is that it has a video attachment on how to attach the wings because it can get a little bit tricky. The directions and the images and the graphics are really easy to follow. I didn't see any problem with this pattern at all. But yes, I would definitely make more of these. I think it is an excellent gift and also would be perfect for markets. Like, so adorable. You could make them in all different color sweaters, and I can see lots of opportunities for this guy. Okay, this next cutie is called Perry the Penguin, and he is the biggest penguin that I made out of all of the penguins that I tried. The creator is Crafty Kams Crochet, and I think he is just precious. I used gumdrop yarn for him, which, as you know, changes color. So it starts off blue, goes to this beautiful red color. I have some pattern, some color changing going on in here. And then you make the feet separately and sew them on. And then the wings are actually crocheted in the round. But I think that he turned out so, no, I'm sorry. The wings are crocheted separately and sewn on, otherwise they wouldn't be just blue. But I think the opportunities here for being creative with color is really fun. And then he's got this little blue spot at the bottom, but I just love him. And I think that this pattern is super easy to follow. It did take me maybe an hour and a half to make him, so probably the longest out of all of the penguins that I made, just because there's so many stitches. There are really nice photos that accompany this pattern, and it was super easy to understand. And I actually made this winter hat for another make, and it ended up being too big, but it looks perfect on him. So I have him just sitting on my desk over here with this little winter hat, and I think he's so cute. If I sell him on Etsy, I might include this adorable hat. But yeah, if you are in like wanting to make a bigger penguin, like a squishmallow type penguin, I would definitely recommend Perry. I used burnished copper painted safety eyes for him. I don't know if you guys can see it in this light, but they have kind of red and blue in them, and they turned out really cute. These are 25mm safety eyes, and I used an 8mm hook to crochet him. But yeah, he is just precious. He's adorable. I just love him. He's one of my favorites. I might keep him. 5 is a free pattern on Instagram, and this pattern was written by Island Time Crochet, and he is just precious, like the perfectly shaped penguin. All the dimensions I adore, and these are 18mm safety eyes, and he's just, I love him. I love his big feet. I love his wings and how they kind of flip down a little bit, and I think he is really nice. Photos are really nice in the pattern. I like the fat fins, and I just think overall for a free pattern, if you just want to go out there and make a penguin, he would make a great market make. I can see a whole bunch of these stacked up in a basket together. It would be super adorable, and it probably took me about 30 minutes. Next pattern that I have for you is another free one from Instagram, and he is just a chunky little penguin with highly placed flippers. These flippers are crocheted and sewn on separately. Feet are crocheted and sewn on separately. Everything else is no sew. I will say, so this is by Miehuyinn. I'll put it on the screen so that you can see it. I did have an issue with the pattern. The way that this creator did the pattern is instead of saying like single crochet or increase, they use letters X and Y and Z. And I didn't see a place in the pattern that explained what those letters meant. And I looked at it many, many times. I kept scrolling back and saying, I'm sure there's like a reference page on here that tells you what these mean. So I just had to kind of guess. And because I've made quite a few patterns, I was able to figure it out most of the time. But like for the feet, I could not figure it out because a whole new letter was introduced. So I didn't know, is that a double crochet? So I don't know if maybe in another country where this pattern was created, maybe that's standard. I'll show you an image of that pattern so that you can see what I'm talking about. The one mistake I made with this pattern is the only white that I had was Parfait white, and this is Sweet Snuggles, and I think this white was a little bit too thin, and so it kind of like became smaller. And I think in the original pattern, it's a little smoother here. It's kind of like a smoother rounded head, and my white sucks in a little bit because I think it's a little too small. Overall, I think he's a super cute, squishy penguin. I would definitely make this again because I think he is adorable and I really like his dimensions, but I would definitely have to go back and look at that pattern and see if I can figure out what those letters mean, or maybe even message the creator and see if I can see if there's like a reference sheet that I am missing. So overall, for a no-sew crochet or low-sew crochet pattern, I think he's really adorable and I would definitely make him again. The next pattern that I have for you is this adorable little snuggler called Pyha the Penguin. And I have seen this all over Instagram, could not wait to purchase it. I think I made it as soon as I bought it. This is a no-sew penguin, and one of the things I loved about it was the shape of the toes. I don't know if you guys can see, but they each have like individual toes. And I loved that it starts at the bottom and works its way up to where you don't have to sew the head on, and it just was really easy. He has this cute little tail in the back, which looks a lot like an actual penguin tail, and that's also crocheted in the round. I did not stuff him because there weren't directions in the pattern to stuff him, but I used a 7mm hook. This pattern has really good directions, excellent photos. There's even a video on how to attach the tail because the bottom of the tail is attached on one round, and then when you get up here, you have to attach the top of the tail to a different round, and then you're immediately attaching the feet, but they have to face away from the tail or they will be facing the wrong direction. And that can get a little tricky, but the photos make it super easy to figure out. And I chose like a charcoal gray, a light gray, and then white for his face. And I think he turned out really nice. His face shape is also really nice. I wasn't sure if I should stuff him because he seemed a little bit small, but I recently was watching a baby for a friend of mine, and he was grabbing onto him and his little hand like perfectly grabbed his body, and I was like, that's why. He didn't have to like struggle with the stuffing, but I went ahead and made another Pyha. This time I used a mystical yarn pattern, and there's his tail in the back. I think if I had to choose between the two, I prefer the lightly stuffed Pyha because I feel like he has more bulk to him, but I don't like the face color that I chose. I think it looks a little weird. It looks a little like he's sick or something, so I would definitely do the white yarn for the face, but keep the stuffed body. But yeah, for a no-sew pattern, this is super easy. I could probably make this in about 45 minutes with no problem, and he would be a really cute market make. See all my penguins that are stacking up in the top, and then I have all my sweet little dolls by Crochet Grove down here, which are also in my Etsy shop if you're interested. Okay, let's get on to the next pattern. Number 8 is this adorable, squishy, chunky penguin called Pudge the Penguin, and I just adore the way he turned out. I think out of almost all the penguins that I made, he's the one that I can imagine him like walking like this across the snow. This is by Poms and Posies, and I love the shape of his head. He was super easy to make. You start with the feet, and then you make this one, and then you just kind of start crocheting around, leaving a little gap in the center. I stuffed him pretty full. One of my watchers when I was talking about him told me that they thought that I overstuffed him maybe a little bit, and that's why his like wings pop up like that. But then I went back and looked at the images in the pattern, and hers also looked like that. So I think that's just how he's supposed to be. And the flippers are crocheted in the round so that they just, you can't kind of adjust them. They just kind of stay there. And you do have to sew the head on. And all of these penguins, I used 18mm eyes. They were all very similar. I may have used 12mm eyes on the little tiny one, but I really like the way he turned out. This is a thicker yarn. I want to say this might be Posh, which might be one of the reasons why he's so puffy. But I really thought this pattern was super easy to follow, excellent photos, easy to read, and I just love it. I would want to make more of him for sure. Maybe one like all black and white. 9 is this mini pen penguin by Mama Made Minis. You know, all her patterns are like super amazing, but I love the way this guy turned out. I used mystical yarn for his body, and then I just used Bernat yarn for the rest. The one complaint that I had was that I don't think I did, either I messed up on his face or I don't know, maybe I used yarn that was too thick, but I felt like his face was a little too flat. Also used 18mm safety eyes. He of course is no sew the whole way. I usually embroider eyes on Loveys, but I was making so many penguins, I decided to go ahead and just do the safety eyes, and I think he's super adorable. He was super easy to make. I made him in about 45 minutes from head to toe, and I really like the way he turned out. He's gonna make a great gift for somebody. You do have to sew on the wings, which is not hard at all. I actually kind of like sewing on the wings because then I can place them where I want, but this is a pretty easy pattern to follow. I would definitely recommend it as a lovey. And if you compare this one to, let's compare this lovey to this one. You can see this is more of a mini lovey, and this one is a little bit bigger. This one has the knotted legs, and this just has the feet down below, but they're both cute, and they both are, I think, worth making and worth buying. We're getting to the end. We only have 2 patterns to go, sadly, but you can always watch it again. Okay, so my 10th penguin is one of my favorites. It's by Julia Pyha, P-Y-H-A. And this was a super easy pattern to follow. It was a very simply written. It probably doesn't, because it's so small, it doesn't have as many diagrams, but still had a couple photos for embroidering this part of the head right here. I initially made it with Bernat blanket yarn, and then these were actually just embroidered on. I really like the way these turned out versus using bobble stitches, because I was able to include as many rows as I wanted until I got the color that I was looking, or the size that I was looking for. I adore the flippers. Look how they flip up, and they are crocheted in the round. They're super adorable and super easy to make. I would definitely recommend. I added this little bow just to kind of add some cuteness, but like, look how adorable this little squishy guy is. I went ahead and made this also in Premier yarn just to kind of get an idea of the scale. And I think I like both. You know, they have the same number of stitches, so I feel like I would get a better bang for my buck for this one. But like, how cute is this one? I really do like the embroidered center part rather than color changing. I think that was a genius idea on her part, because it's just so much easier, and you know you're not going to mess it up. Like, you know you're not going to get your counts off. You just start right in the center and then start embroidering up until you're happy with how that looks. You can either have it come all the way down to the nose like I did on this one, or for this one I left a little bit more space. You can kind of be creative with that. I think this little guy probably needs a bow or some kind of a headband or something, but look how cute these are. Like, I would definitely make more of these for all year long markets. I saved the best for last. This is my most recent penguin pattern that I've made, and probably my favorite. And it is the Loops and Knots Crochet Penguin. I think you can look at this penguin and see why it was my favorite. The wing dimensions, the size, the realistic looking feet, I just love all of it. And it was a super easy pattern. I made this guy in under an hour. I used Loops and Knots for the lavender and the dark purple, and then the white is just like whatever white yarn I could find. And look at his little tail in the back. I thought this was really creative the way she did that. And you just do it like in the round. You just make some double crochet groupings, and it just makes this adorable little ruffle tail. I just think it's precious. I like the way he stands like so solidly, and like he just looks so realistic. His wings are crocheted in the round, so you don't have to sew those on. The only thing you have to sew on are the little feet. So look how adorable. And of course, if you've ever done any of, or created any of Loops and Knots patterns, you know her name is Sarah and she's amazing. And she has excellent directions and tons of tips and helpful ideas in her patterns. She even has a foundation series where she teaches you how to crochet. But you would purchase this on Ko-fi. But I just think for $5, like, you're getting an amazing pattern that I would make over and over. And I cannot wait to make this guy again. So look at all of the penguins back here. I think it's time to get these guys listed on Etsy and hope that they can find their forever home. I have about 13 penguins here that are going to be listed pretty soon, so look out for that. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this penguin pattern review. I had so much fun. I can't wait to start working on my next pattern review. If you have any ideas for me of what you would like me to make, let me know in the comments below. I was thinking of a cow pattern review, even though I feel like so many cows are out there that people have already made. I don't know, I'm just gonna have to think about it because I love finding all the patterns. I don't even mind paying for them because I just love organizing it all and writing down my notes, and I find free ones on Instagram. So if you have any ideas, let me know. But thank you so much for joining me for this penguin pattern review. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.